Good morning, friends. Matt Greer here from St. John's United Methodist Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in, if you're not tuning in, then I don't know why I'm bothering talking to you. I'm coming to you this morning from my office. I usually do this from the sanctuary for the simple reason that we have better wired internet in the sanctuary. But as it happens, we have an HVAC project going on in the sanctuary. All of that is being replaced, as you may be aware of. And it's both going to hopefully finally solve some of the heating and air conditioning problems we've had over the years, but it's also going to allow for better filtration, which will be important once we are able to gather live again. So that's going on. So that's why I'm in my office, and I hope the Wi-Fi works okay in here. It seems to be so far. I hope that most of you were available to be with us last Wednesday for Mark Miller's concert on Inauguration Day. I just thought it was wonderfully special and a great way to celebrate that day. If you were not able to be with us, just a reminder that like everything else we're doing right now, it's available to watch on our YouTube channel, and I highly recommend it. It was wonderful to be with Mark and have that day together, and he sang just some fantastic stuff. As I think I mentioned when I was talking to him, Mark was with us and did a weekend with our choirs in October of 2019. And he actually was supposed to come back this last summer, but of course that didn't work out. We look forward to when he is coming back with us. If you were not with us in traditional worship yesterday morning, I'm actually talking to my good friend Gil Flores in just a second, who directs contemporary worship. And I have no idea if this happened in contemporary worship, I'll ask him. But if you were with us in traditional worship yesterday, I don't know if you noticed this happening. It's always strange to see those empty choir chairs behind, and that was on Facebook this morning, thanks to Shay Perry. So I'm kind of proud that we got in on that, actually. I want to talk about a couple of things coming up for the music ministry, and our live stream concerts to support Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless are back up and running. And this Wednesday, we're going to have a wonderful concert from a local singer-songwriter, Oscar Butler. Oscar was supposed to be with us back in November, and that's when things started to tighten up again. And so we missed a couple of Wednesdays of live streams as a result of that. And Oscar was kind enough to postpone his concert. It will be this Wednesday at noon Mountain Time, and he's a wonderful singer-songwriter. I'm going to play you an example of his work in just a moment. But before I do, I also want to mention that the following Wednesday, the 3rd of February, I just feel tremendously blessed that we're going to have a live concert in our sanctuary from Rahim Al-Hajj. Rahim was on our Music at St. John's concert series with a string quintet about 2 years ago. And if you don't know his music, I'll play an example of it next Monday morning, I expect. But he's a resident of Albuquerque, but he is somebody who really has an international reputation. And that instrument you see him holding in that photo is an instrument called the oud, which is somewhat like a guitar, somewhat like a lute. And he's originally from Iraq, has lived in Albuquerque now for many years, teaches at UNM, and performs all over the world. In fact, when lockdown happened, he was just about to leave for a concert tour playing with symphony orchestras in Australia and New Zealand. And so when I asked him if he would come do a solo concert for us, and he said yes, I was very, very happy about that. That's a week from Wednesday. We'll welcome Rahim Al-Hajj. I mentioned Oscar Butler is this Wednesday, and he is a fantastic singer-songwriter. He does cover stuff, but he also sings a lot of his own stuff. And I'm going to start this morning by playing a piece of Oscar's, and this is called Chorus of My Life. And I hope you enjoy it. Huh.
Hi, singer-songwriter Oscar Butler here to share with you one of my newer songs. I've got no problems that are too big for me. I've got no worries that I cannot foresee. Complications always turn out right. If it's the rocks that make the brook sing, these things are the chorus of my life. to blame me and make me bend the knee. They want me to gamble, but I will not throw the dice. If it's rocks and make the brook sing, these things are the chorus of my life. Oh, I won't let turmoil block my line of sight. I don't let it bait me and drag me to a fight. I will not be afraid to say just what's on my mind. But don't march my mellow, 'cause peace is a hard thing to find. I've been entangled in the sticky web of lies. I've been enticed by all that power buys. They blow their smoke, then claim it will get me high. If it's the rocks and make the brook sing, then these things are the chorus of my life. Oh, so don't let turmoil block your line of sight. Don't let it bait you and drag you to a fight. Don't be afraid to say just what's on your mind. Don't let 'em marshmallow, 'cause peace is a hard thing to find. 'Cause if it's the rocks that make the brook sing, then these things are the chorus of my life. If it's the rocks that make the brook sing, these things are the chorus of my life. Hope you like it. Have fun.
That's Oscar Butler, and he will be live in our sanctuary Wednesday at noon. So we are very much looking forward to that. And it's our intention to keep up the Wednesday live streams, kind of, who knows, but for the foreseeable future. It has been a lovely thing to have um, people in our sanctuary making music. It's been lovely to be in the position to provide a little work to local musicians, which is really important right now. And as always, we love to point people to the work that Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless does. So that's Wednesday at noon. And stay tuned for what is coming up several weeks from now. I want to, before I welcome our esteemed guest this morning, to plug one other thing that is coming up that is kind of St. John's related, but not really. Many of you are aware that I direct a chorus in town called Quintessence. I've been doing so since 2009, and Quintessence is connected to St. John's in that they are an ensemble in residence at St. John's. And of course, like every other chorus in the world, we have not been meeting since March. We were actually about to give a fantastic concert when everything got called off in March, one that we've been rehearsing very hard for. And we present a 4-concert season when things are up and running. It's a very select group of generally about 30, 32 singers, some professional singers in the group, but mostly really, really committed amateur choral singers. And also, as many of you are aware, during the summer since 2013, we've done a big summer choral festival that involves 100 plus singers getting together for a week and preparing a major work and then giving a concert with orchestra and all kinds of extra fun stuff around that. And we were not able to do that in 2020 in July as we usually did. And so we did a week-long virtual festival, which at the very beginning I was not interested in doing at all, and then it ended up being kind of fantastic because we had people involved from all over the country and really just wonderful, wonderful music. So we have a smaller version of that coming up over Valentine's Day weekend. It is called Love Virtually, and it will go from Friday the 12th of February through the evening of Valentine's Day. And I will point you to where you can find out more about it. But there is a promo video that was made that I am going to share with you this morning that at least tells you a little bit about it. So this is Love Virtually. If you know the movie Love Actually, that's what that's supposed to be a takeoff on. And so what this is going to look like is wonderful stuff, as I said, from Friday through Sunday. And it will include things such as a virtual cabaret evening on Friday night, which will feature pre-recorded performances of songs that are appropriate to the weekend from Quintessence members, but also from people kind of from all over the country and over the world are submitting to this. And then there will be on Saturday a special singing session live from the UK with our friends Paul Smith and Claire Stewart. Their group, Voce 8, obviously, but also Apollo 5, who were just here last February on our concert series, have a record premiere concert live from London that if you register for our festival, you're going to get special access to. There's another wonderful husband and wife singer-songwriter duo, Jocelyn Hagan and Tim Tkach from Minneapolis, who are doing a live concert for us on the Saturday. And so lots and lots of wonderful stuff. And if you go to quintessence-abq.com, you can register. All of the content you can experience in real time, but it will also be available afterwards if you can't be there for a particular event. And it is a steal, in my opinion. If you register before February 1st, it's $40. After February 1st, it's $50. And so if you're looking for something fun to do on Valentine's Day weekend, or even if you're not, I highly recommend it. It's going to be wonderful. And St. John's folks, you will see a lot of familiar faces in some of these cabaret performances, people like Shea Perry and Therese McCauley, and just a lot of people that you already know and love. So consider registering for that, for Love Actually, at quintessence-abq.com. It's always fun on these Monday mornings when I get to welcome somebody to talk to. And this morning, I am so happy to have my friend Gil Flores, who is on the staff here at St. John's. He's our director of contemporary worship. Actually, he has been our director of contemporary worship. He just celebrated his second anniversary in that role at St. John's, and the time has really, really flown. And if you are part of regularly worshiping in the Abide service on Sunday morning, you're aware of this, but he's just a tremendously talented guy. We're very fortunate to have him on the staff here, and he's also just way cool. So I'm going to add him to the conversation. That seemed to work okay. Welcome, Gil Flores. You are muted, sir. I guess I could do that.
There. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Just like every Zoom meeting that we're going to be in for the rest of the day. Exactly. How are you?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're so welcome. We're up to 22 viewers, it looks like, and I got to imagine that you're bringing at least 2 or 3 of them. So thank you. So you've been with us at St. John's for 2 years. That's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
And you are also on staff and have been for even longer and continue to be on staff at another United Methodist church in town, Asbury United Methodist Church. Asbury United Methodist Church. How long have you been on staff there?
I started there in May of 2012, so I'm coming up on 9 years in May. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And so you actually are looking after kind of two congregations musically and as far as worship leading, right?
Right.
And I'm going to, for people who don't know, I want to talk about what you do at St. John's and the wonderful band you lead and everything. But at Asbury, what's your role there? Is it the same as at St. John's or a little bit different?
It's the same, but also a little different. I'm my title, I guess, there is loosely that I'm like the lay pastor in charge of contemporary ministries. So there's a contemporary service there, and I do everything at the service. I do the music, I do the sermon, I do the worship planning, I recruit people, train people. So the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. And you find time to lead contemporary music at St. John's. That's just amazing to me.
Yeah, it's fun. Being at St. John's has been fun, and I don't want to jinx myself or anything, but it's been so low maintenance. The people that I work with over there kind of take care of themselves. They're very. It's nice to work with adults. Yeah. And so it's because they always say that working with musicians can be like herding cats. I heard somebody say one time in a church I worked for that says when Lucifer was cast out of heaven, he landed in the choir.
I take that personally. You should say he landed in the praise band. Don't be picking on choirs right out of the gate.
Yeah, they happen to have a choir. The person who said this happened to have a choir, but I'm sure it applies to bands and percussionists, whatever. Yeah, but it's been fun. I've been at St. John's, as you said, for 2 years, and it's been fun, man. It's been fun, and it's been fun working with you and with all the staff there this year that we've had to get creative on how to do worship. It's been fun, and for those of you that don't know, because this is Matt's channel, and those of you, Matt, in one staff meeting, we all were just saying the praises of Matt and how creative he's been to keep musicians working during this time. And I don't know if people understand how big of a deal that is, because literally musicians have no income right now. A lot of our friends have no income right now. They're just floundering by, and the fact that you've tried to create avenues for them to keep on working, I mean, that's huge. I mean, I know musicians personally that have been on your Wednesday on your Wednesday broadcast, and they're thankful to even have a place to perform during this time.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so happy that we have the resources at St. John's to be able to do that. Really, really happy. One thing I was thinking about when I was getting ready to talk to you this morning is that often in churches of the size of St. John's that have both, quote, traditional and, quote, contemporary worship, the person in my role and the person in your role are supposed to hate each other. And that has not been my experience actually with any of my colleagues in contemporary worship at St. John's. But one thing that I've definitely thought about is the fact that, at least from the world that I come from, I am used to very, very happily living my whole musical life in kind of the acoustic realm of being in the sanctuary and having a big group of singers who produce enough sound. And I have always been very kind of anti-amplification, if not anti-technology where music is concerned. And that mostly comes from fear, because I have never had to deal with it. And every time I do have a musician in the sanctuary, or at least in the old days, that required it, I don't speak that language at all. Sure. And if there's anything that the last year has proven to me, it is how important it is to have people around who understand the technology that are related to sound issues in particular. And I'm talking about you, but I'm also talking about my friend Jim Aaron in the sanctuary, who comes from, has a lot of experience with that, thank God.
Yeah.
But it really is people like you and Jim that have a lot of experience in recording and just playing music in amplified venues that really have helped us to make everything successful and beautiful this year. So, I mean, you can just say something at this point. I have no question. I just wanted to say we're grateful for you, people that we used to be afraid of.
Thank you. No, we could spend this whole hour singing the praises of Jim Aaron. The guy has, yeah. I mean, especially like I could see that in your service where you had to broadcast. I mean, that guy, in addition to being a great musician, like a musician that we all respect. I mean, I think he's amazing. But in addition to all that, he has all of this recording knowledge. Like, why do you know all this? You know, why do you know all about? And it's very so. Yeah, so St. John's is very fortunate to have you to spearhead the whole thing. But then somebody like Jim, who, in addition to being a great musician, has all this knowledge of recording and is just a sweetheart. Just a total sweetheart.
Yeah, we are so lucky with the people that we have on staff right now. That is so true. So you have been basically in charge of worship leading for the Abide service, which is our 9:30 service, since you came to St. John's. Talk to me about how that has changed for you since lockdown, because I know at the beginning you were pre-recording everything and you were the guy who was putting absolutely everything together, the pre-recorded sermon and the music and everything else into one big package.
Yeah.
Recently, you guys have switched over to live streaming as well. So what's that been like for you since March?
Oh, it's been interesting. So the way that the whole pre-recorded thing started, I mean, at least to my memory, I mean, Pam might have a different recollection, but the way it happened in my memory, for the first couple of Sundays, we didn't do anything. We were just, we didn't put anything online. We weren't meeting. So we were just in limbo. And I kind of just started feeling guilty. I was like, this church is paying me and I'm not doing anything. So I had a conversation, I believe, with Pam, and I said, Pam, is there anything I can do? I'm like, is there anything I can do? Because, I'm still drawing a paycheck from St. John's, but I feel guilty that I'm not doing anything. And she pretty sure says, no, the SPRC has made a decision to keep everybody, so you're fine. I'm like, no, but is there anything I can do? Which I was very thankful for, that the SPRC had the foresight to not just lay everybody off. But is there anything I can do? Because I want to feel. I guess we can talk more about this, but I have this immigrant mentality that I have to earn my keep. I can't just sit around and do nothing. And so so I was like, is there anything I can do? She says, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, what if I do a pre-recorded broadcast? And what if I do that? She's like, you know how to do that? I'm like, I'll figure it out. We'll figure it. And and I had tinkered a little bit with video editing and audio editing. And my brother in California, I have a brother in California who's just a complete whiz with all of that stuff. So I said, well, if I run into problems, I'll just call my brother and he'll help me. And so so that's how the pre-recorded thing started. And the first Sunday, I don't know if you remember, or if anybody remembers, it was just all me. I played music, and then I just did like a couple reflections from scripture, and that was it. And then we decided to put okay, let's put some meat to these bones. So can we bring in the band? Can we have a sermon? And so it was a lot of work. The first couple of times, because I was figuring it out. The learning curve of how to edit an hour-long service. For people that don't know, editing an hour-long video of any kind, especially a service that has so many components of audio and this video and recording this. The editing of that can sometimes take upwards of 30 hours, just for 1 hour of pre-recorded video. So it was a lot of hours those first couple of months, but it was fun, So as you mentioned, now we've transitioned over to doing an actual live stream. We're there in person, recording live. And so that's been a huge help. And, again, St. John's has had the foresight to make an investment in equipment and everything necessary to make that happen. So so it's been a bit of a transition, and so it's also interesting to be in a sanctuary with nobody and to sing like if we had a full.
I know. Yeah, I kind of gotten used to having no feedback whatsoever, but I can't wait to have real people in the sanctuary. I'm obviously excluding my colleagues that I do worship with on Sunday morning, our senior pastor Pam and Jim Aaron and Shea Perry and others who make it all happen. But it basically we're running a TV show is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, we totally are.
And so it's just different. The band that you lead, that is most of which have been playing at St. John's for a long time, right?
Yes.
Has been back together for a while, right? At least recording and rehearsing on a regular basis. And are they happy to be able to do that?
Yeah. For a lot of them, this is the only thing that they get out for. A few of them have really been diligent about sheltering in place and have the luxury to do so. And so So for a lot of them, this is the only thing they get out for. So yeah, they're totally happy to to be out of the house and playing music, with their friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background. You mentioned the immigrant mentality. So tell us I'm assuming you came from France or Norway, or where did you grow up?
Finland specifically. No, yeah, I'm from Mexico. I'm from Guadalajara, Mexico. It's a big city in south central Mexico. Yeah, that's where I'm from. All my family's still there, with the exception of my immediate family, which is now in California. But yeah, I'm from Guadalajara, and
And when did you emigrate? Did you emigrate with your family?
Yes, we did. So it's complicated because we came and went a bunch of times.
Gotcha.
In my childhood and youth, but somewhere in my teenage years, we landed in California. Yeah.
And do I remember right that you're a preacher's kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, what kind of church did you grow up in?
Yeah, I grew up. So this is my dad's story, right? My dad is a Pentecostal minister. Okay. But my dad went to this Mennonite seminary, so he has this Mennonite theology in a Pentecostal worship setting, So yeah, that's the church I grew up in. Yeah.
So. And when you started out, kind of as a musician, was it in churches or was it in other settings, or how did that happen for you musically?
Yeah, it started in churches. It started because of my dad's church. Really, we didn't have any musicians. It was this little Mexican church, and we didn't have any music. I says, "You're gonna play the guitar," and so I started playing But to be fair, I loved music. I tell people music is the first thing I ever fell in love with. I remember as a little kid, maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, my dad's friends would come over to the house with their guitars, and my dad sings. My dad has a great voice, a beautiful, beautiful old style crooner voice, and they would come over with their guitars, and I would be fascinated. I was like, wow. It was fascinating to me, that sound, the sound that was coming from the guitars and their voices made me feel stuff. Like, oh man, this feels like that was just like, it was like magic to me. As a little kid, I remember thinking that. And I remember just thinking, I want to do that. I want to be able to play music and touch people. And I want that power. I want that superpower. And so, yeah, so it was the first thing I loved, it's still my first love, to this day. So yeah, it was definitely in church. Church was, it was a good training ground for me to learn music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've seen you leading with guitar, and I've also seen you sitting at a piano. So how did those two things happen? Did you just pick up the piano to be able to support worship leading, or?
Yeah. I was playing guitar, and then I just got interested in the piano. So one summer, my dad bought me a keyboard. He bought me this is in the 80s, late 80s, I believe. Yeah, he bought me a keyboard. And one summer, I just didn't go outside. I just stayed the whole summer in my room with a little book, learning chords, transferring chords from the guitar, trying to find them on the piano. Like, okay, how do I put all these notes here? And then just friends, watching other people play. That's I have no formal training. For those of you that may be wondering, I have no formal training. And later on in my 20s, I went and I studied theory on my own, just so I could be able to communicate with other musicians. It's just enough to be able to ask them for what I wanted. When I started leading bands, I thought, I need to learn how to talk to musicians. So I got to learn theory so I can be able to ask correctly for what I want. But I really I have no classical training. My classical musician friends, when they see me play the piano, they're like, I can't even look at your hands. Your hands are driving me crazy, Your fingering is atrocious.
Yeah. I'm sympathetic to that, because I had just a couple of. I mean, as everybody who's ever sung in one of my choirs knows, I just play. I took piano lessons, but I play just well enough to be frustrated. So, yeah. So, have you also done? It seems to me you've done music not only in churches but also commercial settings and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you had a time, if you don't mind talking about it, I think you had a time growing up in the church and then moving away from the church and then coming back to the church.
Yeah.
What did you musically in between? And if you want to talk about how that happened, especially the coming back part, I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. So I lived in California for a long time, right? California is a very diverse place, culturally, but also musically is very diverse. There are people there from all over the world. And so I met a lot of people doing music. So the key to doing music outside of the church is interesting. It was actually the church, the black church. I got involved with the black church in California. And the black church is like the farm system musically for like a lot of R&B musical acts. Like everybody who plays for Usher and Brian McKnight and whatever, they go to churches. They find musicians in churches and then they take them on the road. And the reason they do that, one thing about playing in a black church that I think is really beneficial on the road is that black musicians in churches, in black churches, you're asked to think on your feet. You have to be able to respond to anything that's happening. And somebody's going to start singing. What key are they in? Do I know the song? If I don't know the song, can I figure out a chord structure that'll make, And so I think that touring acts like that skill set, because they don't freak out, about stuff. I got this, Sister Odell has stood it before and just started singing, and
you had to find her.
Yeah, exactly. And so the black church in a lot of ways is a farm system. Like like most black, I'm not gonna say most, but a lot of black artists come from the church and then they develop a career. I mean, that goes back to, I don't know, Mahalia Jackson, Ray Charles, all those people. And so that it's the same thing for black musicians. And so through these black musician friends of mine, I started getting opportunities to play outside of the church. Never really with any huge artists like a lot of them do, but just stuff around California, and then did some studio work in California with regional artists and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And so how did you make your way to Albuquerque and to St. John's, and there was a period of time that you weren't working in churches and kind of were not feeling it as far as church was concerned?
Yeah. So in the early 2000s, the first decade of the 2000s, I was working in California at a mega church. Okay, just to give you scale of how big this church is. Okay, they bought a casino and turned it into a church.
Did they keep the slot machines?
Yeah, there was a running joke. Yeah, about what was kept and what wasn't. It was a casino that the feds had come in and shut down because they had nefarious ties. And I'll let you fill in the blank. And so the feds came in and just shut it down. And it was I was there when the church bought the casino, because when I joined the church, it wasn't, he already had this pastor. He was super charismatic. He just was like a magnet for people. And so they were meeting in an abandoned warehouse, and he had like over 1,000 people at that point. And so we need a bigger, so they bought this casino, and the feds had shut it down maybe like 8 years earlier or 10 years earlier. And they just came and they basically just padlocked the doors. And so when we walked in, it was like walking into a time capsule. Old computers were still on. We went into the employees' quarters, and all their uniforms are still there. Everything was like, they basically just walked out, and the feds just locked it. And so anyways, so long story short, I was there at that church in California, in this mega church setting, and I started having like theological discomfort being there, right? And I've always had like an interest to dabble in theology, and I want to know why people preach, why they preach, and why we believe what we believe, and why the church says what it says. This has been for many years prior to that, but it all started coming to a head for me in the early 2000s because of a lot of things, like the church's involvement in politics, especially in the evangelical world, just the way that they were involved in politics, and the discomfort I started having around that, coming from the world of music and having a lot of musician friends who have all kinds of different lifestyles, right? And I just started feeling like those people would not be welcome at this church. That was one thing. And then also I just didn't know if I I don't know. I just started having a lot of questions. So I started looking for what else can I do? And then also, around 2008, California was in the throes of this recession. The housing market had crashed, and the
Right.
that was California. And so it was economically, it was getting a little dicey. So I started thinking, like, where else can I move? And what kind of a church do I want to go to? And so I interviewed all over the country. I flew out to a bunch of different places in the first 3 months of 2010. I flew out to a bunch of places, including my first dabble with Methodism. I interviewed at Ginghamsburg United Methodist Church. It's this huge church outside of Dayton, Ohio. The pastor there for many years was Mike Slaughter. He just recently retired, but he's a superstar, a rock star in the Methodist movement. And I was there that was my first dabble into Methodism. And when I got there, I was like, wow. I mean, it was kind of cool. This is also a mega church, but they have cool theology and, just an ideology that I was more comfortable with. But I didn't stay there. I didn't stay there because of the weather. I remember I was there in March. I was there in March of 2010, and there was 2 feet of snow on the floor. And I remember when I got there, we had this huge snowfall, and I was at the hotel, and the church called me and says, "Hey, don't attempt to drive. We're going to send somebody to pick you up and bring you to the church." And so anyway, so I ended up here in Albuquerque because a Southern Baptist church brought me here to Albuquerque, right? And which was, it was interesting, And so I was there about a year and a half, and it wasn't a good fit for them or for me. So I resigned. I resigned after a year and a half of being there, and that was the period of time that I didn't go to church. I was I want to do something else. I had a job in the movie industry here in Albuquerque, and so I was making decent money doing that, and then I liked Albuquerque because Albuquerque is a good place for people that are not from here. Albuquerque has good weather. It's cheap to live here. I'm coming from California. I couldn't believe how cheap it was to live in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
When I rented my first apartment here, coming from California, from Northern California, they told me the price of the apartment, and I was like, "What is that? The deposit?" I couldn't believe that was going to be the rent. And so I figured it's cheap to live here, so I can live here with just an okay job. I can live here decently. And during that interim of time, I met somebody that you guys may know. His name is Todd Seelau.
One of our former pastors.
Yeah, one of the former pastors at St. John's. Yeah, and at Asbury. And Todd started when I had known who Todd was prior to coming to Albuquerque, because his fragments of his doctoral dissertation got famous online. For those of you who may know, his dissertation is all on Jeremiah 29, living in exile. So what does a church look like living in exile? And so that conversation, it started a lot of conversations online. So I knew who he was. So I reached out to him before even moving to Albuquerque. Said, "Hey, buddy, my name is Gil. I'm moving to Albuquerque. I'd like to sit down and just have a drink with you and just talk theology." And Todd knows this, so I'm not saying anything he doesn't know. He didn't respond for a year and a half to that.
Wait, are you saying that Todd Seelau didn't respond to your email? I don't believe that.
Yeah. And so, but it was the last Sunday I was at this Southern Baptist church. The last Sunday after I put in my resignation, I was there for one more month. And the last Sunday, I come home from church and I have a message on my computer. "Hey, Gil, my name is Todd. I'm sorry I hadn't seen your message." To be fair, I said it was a Facebook message, so it probably just got buried in an effluvia of messages, right? I mean, the boy's popular, and so he was, "Hey, man, I just saw your message. Let's meet up for coffee tomorrow." So we met up, and I told him all about me and whatever. And then he's all, "Oh, bro," I work at 2 Methodist churches here in town. He's like, come work with me." I'm like, "Bro, I'm done with church. I just quit my last church. I'm not going back to church, bro. I'm good." But to his credit, he worked on me. I mean, he did not let up. I mean, Todd, I tell people, Todd saved me. When people talk about, why am I so? Todd saved me. He was patient with me. He met up with me almost every week and just talked to me and just started roping me in. The first way he roped me in, and maybe for those of you from St. John's, you'll remember this, in New Year's Eve, New Year's Day from 2011 to 2012, Todd was out of town and he got to say, he says, hey man, will you come speak for me at Abide? I'm not going to be there. I'm like, bro, I don't even go to church. like, how are you going to have me preach? I don't even go to church. He said, no, it'll be fine. He goes, it'll be fine. And so that first Sunday of 2012, I preached at Abide, because of Todd. So then he started asking me, like, hey, can you come to Asbury and do a song? The music director is going to be out this. Can you come and do it? He started slowly roping me in, and yes, that's how I ended up at Asbury and at St. John's, and at St. John's also because during the time that my predecessor left, Todd made the introduction to Melissa. He introduced me to Melissa Madera. Says, hey, my friend Gil. So you guys can blame Todd for Asbury, and you can blame Todd also for me being at St. John's because he's been a buddy that way.
That's wonderful. Todd is so gifted in so many ways, and I think just has a heart. I think he sees in people who need to be in church and sees the gifts that they could possibly bring, and so
right, yeah.
I'm so grateful that was your experience, and so glad you found your way here. So on Monday mornings, one thing I like to do with a guest is invite them to share a piece of music that they love, and then I'll do the same. And so I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to play the video that you sent me, Gil. What would you say by way of setting this up?
Okay, this is the biggest selling Latin American artist ever of all time. He's people compare him. He's a mix of, for English speaking people, he's a mix of like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, and Sinatra. Right, like all. His name is Luis Miguel, and so he's somebody who was very influential in my music growing up. So and just has a killer. Yeah. So.
All right. So we're gonna mute ourselves.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, is Luis Miguel somebody that you wanted to be as a kid?
A little bit, yeah, for sure. So he got famous. He got famous in his career in his teens. He was like 13 or 14, and he's not that, we're kind of the same age. So yeah, so he was like, wow, this, and so yeah, and then
That's an amazing backing band. All of that brass. Is that what you see for the Abide band someday?
I would love that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the light show and everything. Yeah,
and the light show and everything. Yeah. So that is, I mean, that's a good example of somebody that I assume is a superstar in Mexico who hasn't really. I'd never heard of him until you sent me the link to this.
Yeah. He's a superstar in Latin America. I mean, he has.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's just to give like people scale. I mean, he's sold over 100 million albums in Latin America. The most important, like, well, not the most. One of the important like music venues in Mexico it's called Auditorio Nacional, the National Auditorium in Mexico City. Fits like 15,000 people. He has a record there. Okay, he has sold out over it's 30 something consecutive sold out shows in during 1 month in March a couple years ago. Whenever he plays there, he's the man. He's in Latin America. He's like a reference point for music. And then also, I don't know if you can tell, but his musical arrangements are really sophisticated. Like there's a lot of jazz in his music and stuff. Yeah, so he's somebody that with my Latin American musician friends, we always talk about his music. He's like a reference point for our music. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you for introducing him to me. I'd never heard of him, and I'm genuinely eager to follow up and learn more of his stuff. So send me other things of his that you like, will you? Whether you would point me to?
I'll do that. For sure.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to do mine, and this is actually a local band. And I think maybe I have shared this video in some format with Chancel Choir. I can't remember. It's just something that makes me happy. When I'm depressed, I watch this video. This is a local Albuquerque band called Cactus Tractor.
Okay.
And they bill themselves as a bohemian pop folk disco band. Okay. Just to kind of cover all the bases.
Yeah.
And this video that I'm going to play for you is an original tune of theirs called Jelly Donut. And it actually was an entry in, folks, if you know about the National Public Radio has these tiny desk concerts, which, I mean, everybody is doing tiny desk concerts these days, but the original idea was just small groups of musicians, mostly acoustic, doing small things and submitting videos. They have a contest every year. So in 2016, this video I'm going to show you from Cactus Tractor, out of like 10,000 submissions, was one of the top 10 finalists all over the country. And the other thing that I'll tell you, just kind of to prepare you about it, is that the lead singer of Cactus Tractor, who is the guy you will see at the very beginning and all the way through, who has crazy glasses and bushy hair, is a guy named David Bashwinner, who is his day job. He's professor of music theory at the University of New Mexico. Some of our music staff have had David for music theory, and he's also a composer. He lives in this kind of very straight-laced world when he is not doing stuff with Cactus Tractor. So anyway, I just love this. So I'm going to mute myself. This is Cactus Tractor singing their tune Jelly Donut.
I don't understand Your rules, they're really rather bland, like reading Chinese, like choosing wine based on the cheese, like feeling poor when opportunity knocks upon your door, like feeling thirst. Lots of stranded sailors sure are feeling worse. I don't understand. And if I did, it wouldn't take me by the hand, wouldn't make me sure. And if I were a fish, it wouldn't function like a lure. I was a thing in France, purveyor of romance. I danced the safety dance. Won't you pass the jelly a little more? Thanks. Do I sin, or is I in? Go is always a go-getter, ego-less, so at the rent. My it is lazy. I tell the truth, it says no sooth, but don't let me be so uncouth. Both of you please sit in this booth. You say chicken, I say egg. You give your hands, I give my legs. You talk linguistics, I talk linguini. You wax poetic, I wax bikini. You hoist the sails, you turn the crank, you. But first get over here and give me a bite of that jelly donut. Pretty please and thank you. I feel too much from feeling felt, and such fantastic feeling felt. I feel I've touched a bell, from which comes this fantastic feeling felt. I melt this felt, I feel I've melted. I pat an eye with a dainty little hanky. Won't you give me one more jelly donut? Thanky, thanky. Go find a tulip pal and give a guy a gal. Jog a hole into the bathtub. Yes, sir, Signora Inara. Zu mir ein Kuss auf meinen Bauch und mach es laut und so, dass die Nachbarn können. Wir werden nicht stören, sondern wir stören. Dein süßer Symphonie kann wir nicht mehr suchen. Such nicht mehr, ich bin dein Pfannkuchen. Du musst die Füße nicht mehr stoppen. Ich bin dein Jellykappen. Not going to do it your way, I'm going to do it mine. Not going to butt ahead, I'm going to stand in line. Happy being backed against the wall, just sitting, I'm not going to fall forward, fall behind. Not gonna do it your way, gonna do it mine.
That was fun. That was so fun.
I know that is, and what's amazing to me, I mean, that if you watch the credits at the end, that was shot down at the Cosmos and had to have been done in one take. And by the time that the acrobats come in at the end, I'm just always kind of amazed. And if I know sharing videos on this platform, folks, is kind of jerky, so go back and watch it. It is worth watching over and over. That's Cactus Tractor singing Jelly Donut. So. You're welcome for that. If you didn't know about that, Gil Flores, that will make your life better. Just
Thank you for putting that in my life. Yeah.
You're welcome. And I don't know how active they have been lately, but I do know that they write a lot of original songs. And Amy and I went and heard them at the Outpost in, well, it would have been 2017, because what they did was on the 50th anniversary of the Beatles Sgt. Pepper album, they performed the entirety of the Beatles Sgt. Pepper album and tried to replicate as much of it for real as they could. So they had Indian instruments on the George Harrison stuff, and it was an amazing evening. It was very cool. So yeah, look them up.
You should do a talk, or maybe I can come back here. You're really funny, and we need to we should do a chat about comedy sometimes, because I think
I would love that.
I think that humor is undervalued for how much, especially during these times, and just how much humor just helps us get through life, and also like the relationship between like humor and spirituality, and humor and music and all those things. Yeah, and this is a good example. That song is a good example of, for those of you who are trying to get insight into Matt, this is Matt's sense of
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I would love to do that with you. Yeah. I would love to do that with you. Folks, thanks for tuning in today. And a reminder that Wednesday we have a live stream concert with Oscar Butler on our YouTube channel. So we hope to see you there for that. And also just a reminder that you can hear Gil Flores and not only the amazing music that he makes, but what he brings as a worship leader every Sunday morning at Abide at 9:30. And we are so fortunate to have you with us at St. John's, Gil. We really, really are.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual.
Okay. Everybody have a good Monday, and we will see you next week.
See you.